So, is artificial intelligence kicking off a brand new gold rush? An era of unbelievable wealth and opportunity? Or is it the beginning of the end for our economy, a one-way ticket to mass unemployment and ruin? Today, we're going to dig into four really different perspectives to try and understand the high-stakes future that we're building literally right now. This quote from an investor on Reddit, it just perfectly nails the huge shift we're seeing. That initial kind of crazy excitement is starting to cool down, and the focus is moving away from the flashy software demos and toward the hard, physical stuff it actually takes to power this revolution. The whole conversation is changing from what if to how to. And that how to is exactly where our first perspective comes in. This is the pragmatic investor. See, they're not chasing the next big AI model. Nope, they're looking for the picks and shovels of this new gold rush. And that gets us to the heart of their strategy, this idea of a bottleneck. Instead of trying to bet on which one AI company is going to win it all, the smart money is betting on the things that all AI companies absolutely need to survive. It's about the fundamental, non-negotiable stuff. So this whole strategy really breaks down into three key areas. First up, energy. AI doesn't run on good vibes, right? It runs on absolutely massive amounts of electricity, and our data centers are already starving for power. Second, cloud infrastructure. All that number crunching has to happen somewhere, and that's creating incredible demand. And third, and this one might surprise you, is defense. The thinking here is that the future of war itself is going to be defined by software and AI. Okay, but now let's just shift gears completely. Because while investors see bottlenecks and big opportunities, another perspective sees us heading straight for a cliff. This is a much, much darker forecast of where AI could take us if we just let it happen. The core argument here is actually pretty simple and frankly terrifying. It's that AI is just so good at replacing human labor that if we don't have rules to manage it, it won't just make a few people rich. It will make almost everyone else poor by destroying jobs and with them, the power to buy anything. Just look at this number. One estimate suggests that by 2035, nearly half, 47%, of all knowledge-based white-collar jobs could be automated. We're not just talking about factory work anymore. We are talking about lawyers, accountants, programmers, you name it. And the logic of how this could all fall apart, it happens in stages. It actually starts out by helping us, right? Making us way more productive. But then it moves from just assisting us to replacing us. Once AI masters the office jobs, it moves on to sectors like trucking and manufacturing. And the final step in this domino effect? With millions of people out of work, there's nobody left to buy all the cheap stuff AI is making, and the entire economic engine just grinds to a halt. And these numbers, they show this isn't some small, niche problem. We're talking about the absolute pillars of our economy. From trucking our goods to taking care of our sick, the scale of this potential disruption is just immense. The very foundation of our job market is at risk. So that dystopian future, it's a powerful warning for sure. But is it actually happening? For our third perspective, let's take a look at what corporations are really doing with AI right now, according to the actual data. And right away, here's a direct counter-argument from a global consulting leader at EY. He's saying that the reality on the ground isn't replacement, it's reinvestment, that companies are taking the efficiency gains from AI and using them to make their current workers smarter and more capable. This survey from EY is pretty telling. It shows where the productivity gains from AI are actually going. And look, job loss, it's the smallest slice of the pie, just 17%. The vast majority is being plowed right back into getting better at AI and training up employees. So for now, it's a story of growth, not just cutting costs. And it seems like the more companies invest in AI, the bigger the payoff. This suggests that the companies who are really leading the charge are leaning into the technology as a way to create new value, not just as a tool to shrink their payroll. So, how do we square this circle? On one hand, you've got this grim forecast of mass unemployment, but on the other, you've got current corporate data showing companies are reinvesting in their people. So is that dystopian vision just wrong? Or is what we're seeing today just a snapshot in time? The calm before the real storm hits. Well, that brings us to our fourth perspective, which basically says we're asking the completely wrong question. It isn't about whether AI is good or bad. It's about how we design the entire system to handle the unbelievable wealth it's going to create. It's an argument for getting ahead of the problem instead of just reacting to it later. This chart lays out two competing ideas. On the left, you have redistribution. That's the familiar approach. Let wealth pile up in one place, then tax it and give it back to people, maybe through something like a universal basic income. It's a fix after the inequality is already there. Pre-distribution on the right is totally different. It's about preventing that extreme inequality from ever happening by giving more people the tools and, crucially, the ownership to succeed from the get-go. And that line of thinking leads to this idea of universal basic capital. So forget monthly checks. Instead, imagine giving everyone a real stake, an ownership share, in the very technologies that are reshaping our world. It's about creating owners, not just dependents. And look, this isn't some brand new radical theory. The US has actually used this playbook before, and it worked. Think about the GI Bill after World War II. It didn't just give veterans a check. It gave them access to education and capital. It helped build the largest middle class in history. These weren't handouts. They were tools for people to build their own prosperity. So where does all this leave us? Well, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build. And right now, we are faced with a fundamental choice about what kind of AI-powered economy we actually want to live in. So here's just one concrete example of what this could look like: an AI sovereign wealth fund. Imagine we tax AI profits, or maybe we require AI companies to contribute some equity since so much of their tech is built on publicly funded research. Then, that fund invests in our national AI capabilities. And the last step? Every single citizen gets an AI dividend. You're not just a consumer anymore, you're a shareholder in your country's technological future. So when you boil it all down, this isn't really a fight against technology or progress. The investor, the critic, the corporate leader, the policymaker, they're all wrestling with the same basic question. As AI creates all this incredible new value, who gets to own it? I think this quote just reframes history in such a powerful way. It says the Luddites weren't anti-technology, they were anti-exploitation. They weren't fighting the invention of the loom. They were fighting a system where a few factory owners got all the benefits and the workers were left with nothing. And that's the heart of the debate we are having right now. And you know, there's a real sense of urgency here. History shows us that once wealth and power get too concentrated, it becomes almost impossible to change the rules of the game. If we wait until mass unemployment is already a reality before we try to act, the people who control the AI might be too powerful to ever tax or regulate. Which leaves all of us with this final question. As we step into this new economic era, are we going to set up a system where most of us are just passive recipients, just hoping some benefits trickle down? Or are we going to design a system where everyone has a chance to be an active owner, a participant with a real stake in the future we all have to share? The choice really is ours, and the time to make it is now.